Hi there. So this is going to be a run through of the automated process for assessment offence reporting. This is going to take it through from module leader filling in the form, having seen what they think to be an assessment offence, all the way through to the final outcome of the penalty, if that is indeed the final decision, being entered into the student record system by the relevant SAT team. So let's run you through it. I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. We're just going to run through the actual process rather than all the behind the scenes stuff, but I'll jump back and forth as we go. So let's jump in and start off with the trigger, which will be the assessment reporting form. So what we've got here, this is the assessment offence reporting form. This is a duplicate of the Word document, and it has all the relevant questions, student first name, last name, to be completed by the module leader, including this upload file where up to 3 files, 10 megabytes each, will be uploaded to provide the evidence. This might be the submission, it might be a safe assign report, whatever it might be, and those all go to a single folder that sits kind of alongside this form that's accessible only by people who have the ability to collect responses for the form. In this case, that is me as the creator, tester, and all this sort of thing. It does mean that all the files and the evidence will be in one place, but because of the way that it all reports, they are part of unique identifying case numbers, and therefore you access them via the specific case, which makes them secure. It also means we don't have to have multiple areas. So I'm going to trigger the flow, and this is the flow here. And this is the trigger when a new response is submitted, and buried in here are a whole bunch of actions that result from that initial form completion. So let's pretend that I filled in this form, and in fact I've completed it 3 times here with fictional students, and I'm going to use one of those previous ones as part of the test. Now obviously the trigger would normally be a live completion, but in this case I'm going to do an automatic one to save you having to watch me fill the form in. And you'll see that now it does, the flow is running, and what it's going to do is it gives a tick next to the stages. Now of course, if you are the assessment offence advisor, the SAT team, the student, the module leader, or the executive officer, you won't see any of this and you don't need to see it. It all happens in the background. Now this shows that there's a process going on, and that ping that hopefully you heard indicates that there is now a Microsoft Flow assessment offence reported. So if I click on this, student number, and here's the fictional number, and it's pulling information from that form requested by the module leader, which in this case is me. It's been sent to me because I'm the assessment offence advisor in this case. It is from student email, me again, but normally it would be the student's email. The module code that it's happened on, the date and time that they submitted it, and the name of the module. In this case it is BSc Nuclear Physics is the course, and the module is UTY as a random thing, GAM, and you'll see why I've chosen GAM in a moment. Now what the assessment offence advisor does is clicks on to review. This opens up the spreadsheet that contains the responses, and so they can see all the various bits of information that were inputted for each of those responses. Okay, and here I happen to know that this student, so Bruce, is the student who has had an assessment offence alleged against them. There's the student number, there's my name as the person that filled in the form, my email, the nature of the allegation, anger control, they destroyed the exam room. Student's last name is Banner. Okay, so that's what I would review, and indeed what I would click on is the hyperlink for one of the files that is uploaded, and this is just a random picture that I had there, but that's what it brings up. So that is what you would review as the submission, or whatever it might be. Okay, in this case I guess for him it would be some video footage of him destroying the exam room, so you might access an MP4 file that was added to the form there. Okay, so that's what I would review, and being happy with that, or not happy but approving of the fact that there has indeed been an assessment offence, I might add a comment here, but I click on approve and submit. Now that in turn, the form being created, or the form being submitted, created all this information. Okay, this automatically populated. Now that I have approved it as the advisor, what I'll do here is refresh this screen, and you should hopefully see upheld yes or no. That now says approve, whereas previously it was blank. All right, if we jump back here, that ping you heard was that this is to the student who has allegedly committed the offence, and that offence has now been upheld. Dear Bruce, an assessment offence has been reported. You have 5 days to respond. Choose whether you accept the decision or whether you request a meeting. That has some extra information there. Now, if I left this for over a minute in this case, but normally 5 days, it would time out and start a series of flows. We will assume that Bruce knows jolly well what he did and he accepts the decision. This again, there's a ping. And if we jump back to the form very briefly and I refresh the page, this now shows us that the student accepts the decision. So the student decision, that is automatically populated. Jump back to my email, and now this is for the assessment offence advisor. The student has accepted it. Now we must dole out justice. In this case, you choose which of the different categories of offence there is. In this case, it was first and lesser offence rather than first and serious. So I'm going to choose that. And again, this will populate the relevant column. First and lesser offence in the offence category. Now, what the email also asks is for the advisor to manually fill in the penalty outcome, because that is something that can be a bit more open to interpretation. It might be give them a 0, kick them off the course, it could be anything really. So in this case, we would highlight, edit, and it edits the one that you have ticked. And I would go down here and type in penalty outcome, anger management classes. Save that, and anger management classes. There we go. Now, what doing the offence category did was generate an email to the executive officer, and the executive officer is now being made aware of this for the first time. So decision has been made on assessment offence case 37, which was the first column for this student, by the assigned assessment offence advisor. So again, I can go to the SharePoint tracker where all that information is. I can review everything, and here is everything there. Here's the penalty they've decided on, any comments the officer has put in, attachments that there might be. I can review that as the executive officer, might be the Associate Dean of Teaching and Learning, and I'm being asked to approve or to reject. Now, different choices will result in different outcomes, but we're just going to go with hoping that this is a seamless one and everybody trusts everybody's judgment and is honest and honourable and all that stuff. Now we've got another one. So the assessment offence advisor has approved, the executive officer has approved of the judgment of the assessment offence advisor. Bruce now gets an email, which comes to me because I'm pretending to be Bruce. Having reviewed the alleged offence, here is what it is. Now, the outcome in this case has been designated as first and lesser. This has pulled in information from the SharePoint list item, and the penalty would have been pulled in had I filled it in at the time on the approval, but that would also be populated, so now they know what the case is. Simultaneously, the SAT team gets an email telling them that this student, case number this, has been on this student number upheld, everyone's agreed, can you please, and the penalty is anger management classes. So now that has appeared, please update the student record in the student information records management accordingly. So add a 0, anger management classes, whatever it might be. The case is now closed. And if we jump very briefly back to the flow, your flow has run successfully, and there's a tick next to all of these conditions that themselves have multiple conditions and things within. And we can see how complicated it gets, and it's stuff that you'd never need to see. And that's all the emails there. Simultaneously, any approvals will have gone to the approvals tool in Microsoft Teams for the people that were assigned to approve them, and therefore we have an auditing system outside of the email collection that we've got that will track any approvals that came through as to who they're about, who they came to, who approved them, and the dates and times. So that's it really. Now that only took a couple of minutes, even with me explaining all around. Obviously if the student were to, it will take as long as it takes for people to respond to things and to review things. So in practice it would be a little bit slower, but that's how easy it is. Clicks, approves, rejects, goes to all the relevant people. The only manual stuff I had to do was changing the penalty category and clicking a couple of buttons. That's it. No form filling, no writing emails. It's all there. That's how easy it can be, and it can be done for a whole bunch of areas as well. This is quite a complicated flow to put together, but really we can apply this to simpler things like student attendance, module reports and pinging to external examiners, moderation forms going up. Loads of things we can automate. I hope you found that useful. See you again soon.